Welcome. If you've spent the last few decades solving tough problems, leading teams, and just plain getting things done in your career, then you are in exactly the right place. We're going to break down how you can take all of that hard-won experience and package it into a consulting offer that's not just profitable, but also works for you on your terms. Okay, let's get into it.
So this is the big question, isn't it? It's the one that trips so many people up. Look, you're not worried about your skills. Heck, you've been doing this work for 30 years. The real uncertainty is, how do you package it all up? How do you put a price on it? And how do you confidently walk into a room and say, yep, I can solve that for you, and here's the investment? Let's get that sorted out right now. But before we even get into the how, I really want this to sink in. Just look at this data. According to the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, businesses started by folks over 50 have a 70% chance of still being around in 5 years. For younger founders, that number is only 28%. Let me be crystal clear about this. Your age and your experience are not holding you back. They are your single biggest advantage in the market, period.
Okay, so that brings us to our first big idea. When you've been doing something for so long, your deepest, most valuable expertise starts to feel, well, kind of obvious to you. It's almost second nature. And that right there is the trap. Because what feels like simple muscle memory to you is a high-value, premium solution to a potential client. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? That messy process you could streamline in an afternoon. For a company, that's a 5-alarm fire, causing massive headaches and costing them money. That operational bottleneck you can spot from a mile away, that's a huge blocker to their growth. Your obvious is their emergency, and they will gladly pay to make that emergency go away.
So the big question is, how do we dig up these obvious skills? Well, we start by mining your career history for gold. And this isn't just some fluffy exercise. We are literally identifying the intellectual property you've spent a lifetime building. It's all about finding the patterns of problems you've solved again and again. This 4-step process you see here is basically your treasure map. I want you to think about a specific problem you solved over and over in your career. First, who was struggling with it? Get specific. Then, number 2, why was it so hard for them? Was it politics, bad systems, lack of know-how? Number 3 is the magic part. What was your unique approach? What did you do that was different? And finally, step 4, what was the result? Did you save money, save time, make things run smoother? As you go through that exercise for 5, 6, 7 different problems, you're not just taking a trip down memory lane. What you're actually doing is creating the blueprint for your entire consulting business. This right here is the raw material, the documented proof of your value that's going to become your very first offer. All right, let's talk about the number 1 confidence killer for new consultants, pricing. It's so easy to just guess, or even worse, to lowball your price because it feels a little safer. We're not doing that. We're going to use a simple, logical formula that takes all of the guesswork and anxiety out of it.
Let's break this down nice and simple. First, figure out what a company would pay a full-time senior person to do this work. Let's say it's about $150,000 a year. That works out to $75 an hour. Okay, that's our base. Second, you're a business now, not an employee, so we add 35% for overhead. That gets you to $100. Third, and this one's huge, you're not billing for 40 hours a week. There's marketing, admin, all that stuff. So we multiply by 1.5 to cover that non-billable time. Now we're at 150. And finally, step 4, you have to build in a profit margin. A healthy 35% margin brings you to right around $200 an hour. That's not a guess, that's your sustainable minimum. And hey, before you start thinking that number sounds a little high, just take a look at these typical industry rates. Fractional CFOs are getting up to $400 an hour. Senior HR consultants are easily in that $150 to $250 range. The key takeaway here is that your rate isn't some crazy number you pulled out of thin air. It's right in line with the market value for this level of expertise. You're not just a cost, you're an investment that saves companies way more than they pay you. So let's make a pact, right here, right now, to avoid these classic rookie mistakes. We're not going to charge what feels comfortable. We're going to charge based on solid economics. We're going to count for our non-billable time. And please, please do not price low just to get your foot in the door. It almost always backfires because it signals you don't value your own work. Instead of guessing, we're going to validate. Okay, this next part is maybe the most important step in this whole process. Before you spend a single dollar on a website or business cards or anything else, you absolutely have to validate your idea. This is the lowest risk, highest reward thing you can do, and all it takes is a few simple conversations.
That's it. This number right here is your only focus. Just 5. 5 real, honest-to-goodness conversations. Reach out to some old colleagues, people in your network, anyone who fits the profile of who you think you can help. And remember, the goal here is not to sell anything. It's to listen, it's to learn. And in these conversations, you're playing the role of a doctor, not a salesperson. You're diagnosing. You can use these 4 questions to guide the chat. Start broad. What's your biggest challenge when it comes to X? Then dig deeper. What have you guys tried so far? Then, the third one is so powerful. What would it mean for the business if this problem just went away? And finally, you can gently test the waters with something like, do you think some outside expertise might help here? It keeps the focus entirely on them and their pain points. Now, as you're listening, you have to tune your ear to the difference between polite interest and real interest. It's huge. Oh, that's a really great idea. Good luck with that. That's just polite. But if they lean in and ask, so, when could you start? Or could you put together a proposal for us? That is a buying signal. That's real. If you get that kind of real interest in just 2 of your 5 conversations, congratulations. You've just validated your business idea. So once you know for a fact that people have a problem and are willing to pay for a solution, it's time to actually package it up. Let's look at 3 proven ways to structure your expertise into a clear offer that a client can look at and say, yes, I want to buy that. There are really 3 classic models that work great. First is the diagnostic. That's a fixed price project where you come in, analyze a situation, and deliver a strategic roadmap. Second is the implementation package where you actually stick around and help them execute that plan. And third, my personal favorite for this stage of life is the advisory retainer, a set monthly fee for your ongoing strategic advice. That's the fractional model, and it's perfect for building a flexible, high-impact second-act career. Phew, we have covered a ton of ground here. But all this information doesn't mean a thing if you don't take action. So let's boil all of this down into a super simple, concrete action plan that you can literally start working on this week. No more analysis paralysis. Here it is, just 3 steps. That's all. First, go back and list out those recurring problems you've solved. Second, just pick one, the one you feel most confident you can knock out of the park. And third, your only goal for this week is to have 3 conversations about that one problem. Not sales calls, just conversations. I guarantee you'll learn more from those 3 chats than you would from 3 months of planning. I really want to leave you with this final thought. When you left your last corporate role, your expertise didn't just vanish into thin air. It didn't have an expiration date. No, it became portable. And what that means is you now have the incredible freedom to apply that mastery to the problems you find interesting for the clients you actually enjoy on a schedule that you get to control. So, if you're ready to make that happen, we've put all the tools we talked about today, the rate calculator, the conversation scripts, the package templates, all of it is waiting for you inside our free Retirepreneur hub. This will help you get started right away. Just remember, you are not starting from scratch. You're starting from decades of mastery. The only real question left is, are you ready to put it to work?